thank you so much for turning up to listen to me speak and share on a subject that I'm very passionate about, and that's values and culture. Just a little bit about me. My name's Rob Coulthard. You'll have seen the bio. I had an experience that I've brought to this sector from a military field and from a sporting field and also other commercial environments. And I've spent probably 20 years looking at developing leaders and teams and trying to shape culture and values in organisations. There is a lady coming in. Could somebody just, thank you. What I'm going to do today, I would like to share with you, some top tips. We're just going to share some top tips and some experience, but also share with you some research we've been looking at outstanding care homes, and particularly outstanding care managers, and what makes up that. So as part of this morning, what would be really good is if you just sit back and relax and pretty much self-analyse where you are. So as I'm talking, I'm a performance coach, by the way, and I've got a sports psych background, and I'm always about development and analysis. So if while we're talking this morning, please just analyse and have a chance to reflect yourself and your home and where you might be right now, and then if anything we are doing might fit with what you can do, either for yourselves or obviously get our help. I'm fortunate enough to have one of our clients here is going to give a case study. This is Julia Clinton, Chief Exec of Sonnet. He's going to give her story of what we've been doing them, and also one of my co-researchers on our work looking at outstanding care managers, Mr. Seddy Frederick, just down here. So, no further ado, let's crack on. Are you in, sir? Are you comfy? You get comfy. So, firstly, I quite often start this slide, and this was done a few years ago by Sir Keith Pearson, and let's just focus on a couple of words on that introduction. We need a major cultural shift. Okay. I question the extent that a major cultural shift has happened with many care organisations. No doubt, individual care homes and some organisations have had a shift. We need to be person-centred and not task-focused. Now, I looked at this and I thought, well, that's fine. We certainly need to be person-centred. That's what it's about. But you look at the job spec that your team leaders, your carers, you have as managers, you have as owners of care homes. Look at that job spec now. Look at the list of things. There is no way you cannot get away with having a task orientation about how you do business. And we need to change the way we recruit and develop our people. So what are you currently doing that's not working in the way you develop and recruit people? And what are you doing that is working? And we'll come on to a touch of that. But I suspect that many of your recruitment methods have not shifted significantly over the years. I will presume everyone does a CRB check. I'll presume everyone does an interview. I'll presume everyone gets a CRB check. Cool, passed. Gives you an element of risk. A CV, self-written, all right? You've all seen those. A reference by someone who wanted to get rid of someone, because you can't now give someone a bad reference. An agency. We are the antichrist to agencies because the impact we have on staff turnover, and it is not their model. Theirs is a sales model generally. So we're trying to equip in-house recruitment and support your mechanisms. So there's a lot of things goes on in recruitment and development staff that we can do. I'd also like to look at just some recent information, and this was put out by Harvard last year. And this is a quote, and this is just in the USA. And I'm going to reference the USA because I've got business partners, we work extensively in the USA with the Mayo Clinic, with 130 other quality organisations, Yale University Hospital, and some really great organisations. And so I want to share with you some of the stuff we're doing there as well. Basically, £160 million. Now this is Harvard. Imagine a business training school have said much of that training is wasted. Why? Because in the first instance, organisations have not secured a strong culture based on values. Now, the purpose there is that if you don't know if the culture and foundation of how you organise and how you run your business isn't solid, then you can train people to what? What do you train them to? And training will never stick unless a culture is there to support the habit and behaviours. Fact. So let's look about how you are training, and I'm sure you're doing some fantastic things, bringing and developing on your people. But to what extent does your culture support that behavioural change? How many people here in the room have been on a management training course or a leadership training course, probably part of this 160 billion UK side, and actually not really implemented much of what they did? And that's exactly what happens in your care homes. Not just homes, but the domiciliary aspects as well. Let's just identify what culture is then, just for a second. I've put the medical slant on it, an environment that will maintain tissue cells in a condition suitable for growth. For growth. So you need a culture suitable for growth. That means you need a learning environment, and you need to embrace a learning environment, and that takes quite a few things regarding change. Change. How difficult is change? Massively, if you're not basing it around a culture and values. Behavioural change. How do you get people to flip from the old way we did things, boss, this is how I'll do it now, to what you want to do now? Well, you ain't going to do it without developing an environment that actually fosters that. Now, values. This is what we do basically. Judgement Index is an analysis tool that assesses value-based behaviour. Okay, that's what we do. Why? Because values will predict performance. Value-based behaviour drives performance. Values drives attitudes and emotions. So we pretty much sit in that sphere. If we can identify your values, we can typically predict performance. And that's what we do with the research and work we've done. So a value is a deep belief of moral principles and ideals that impact on emotion and influence behaviour. So you're all aware of the many scandals and things that have been going on in the press this last number of years, you know, in different homes, and some poor organisations that have suffered, and some outwardly evil people who have committed certain crimes. Now that wasn't built on personality. What personality are you? What personality are you? Theorist, introvert, extrovert, you know, whatever. That wasn't based on a CRB check or an interview or a CV. This was based on values. And people's values influence to create crime. We're trying to spot that to predict risk. So if we can spot risk, we can influence behaviour. Now, just a quick flash through some of the research. We've recently been working with my colleague here, John Kennedy and article consultant Seddy Frederick, to look at outstanding care home managers. And we've been trying to identify, well, we know that the commonality here is outstanding care managers. You will not have an outstanding care home without outstanding care manager. So what do they look like? And are they subtly different than other organisations? So we used the Judgement Index to do the analysis of part of it, and also an in-depth questionnaire that was provided by Article Consulting. And I want to share with you some of the stats. Now, when I share that stuff with you, I want you just to reflect on yourself, say, where am I with this now? And if I had to self-analyse now, by the way, we could analyse you quite easily. Self-analyse and then compare and consider your staff back in your care homes. Okay? We'll tell you all about the Judgement Index later, but our stand's there. Come and talk to us. I'll just emphasise that it takes 15 to 20 minutes. Originally was nominated a Nobel Prize. It's massively credible, academically robust, and it will identify critical areas that will measure outstanding, and risk. So interestingly, the balance of capacity. This is what our findings were. The balance of capacity, i.e. the ability of outstanding managers, it was very balanced between their ability with people, with tasks, and also with strategic ability. The way they laterally thought in scenarios and situations. Now, most managers we looked at had a weak spot, and typically the weak spot was the way they laterally thought. Why? Because they're either all about people, all about tasks, or a mixture of both, but they had a blind spot around the lateral consequences of things that were going on. Why? They were overloaded and bombed out, half of them, with stuff they were doing. But your outstanding care managers just seem to have that incredible ability to think laterally in even balance with people and tasks. So just have a reflect now. Do you have a blind spot? Their value. Now, within the data, we analyse your value. So you could be fantastic with people, but right now you could be in an environment where you're really not valuing the people around you because they're either incompetent, racist, they're homophobic. Typically what goes against your values. And what we found with the outstanding managers is they had a very balanced value of both people. And this isn't capacity. They had a value of people, they had a value of task, and they had a value of ability to consider implications. But what was incredible is that they were really strong, and their value of themselves as a person, they were operating from a rock-solid foundation. They were very strong with self-esteem. They were very strong with their role in life, and their self-image and direction and motivation was massively balanced. Now, it's rare that we see on data that we get someone who is going to be even in all of those 6 areas, from the working side or the self side. What was incredible here, these outstanding managers, all of them this was, had an even balance in all these areas. Now, when I do work in a variety of environments, I will normally write on this. This is a rarity to get someone like this, and it normally brings an air of self-assurance, an air of consistency. I often write on a report, this person will bring an air of calm to the environment they're in. And that's what they had. They just had an even value. Their problem-solving pace. Now, we measure this, and we measure your capacity to take in information, problem solve, and come up with a quality decision. Your outstanding care managers, every one of them, featured in the top 15% of all data we collect. They were up faster problem, faster capability than people in other environments and people in the care environment. It just happens that normal care managers, you'll get about 15% will get into that top range of it. We call it elite thinking. Your outstanding managers, 75% of them got into that top bracket of what we call outstanding capability of problem solving. And that isn't a surprise. Their ability to follow directions, keep focus was 25% stronger, and so they were compliant. But their intuition, now I talk about intuition in a variety of environments, both from being in the military and different environments. Intuition, your ability to sense the mood of people, your ability to spot risk in an environment. And the outstanding guys and girls were 20% stronger than anyone else. They're in that 20% bracket, that elite level. Now, interestingly, comparing stats in the Mayo Clinic, you'll know this is one of the world's, most revered organisations. Their midwives, which was a comparison, scored around the same sort of capability as the outstanding care managers. And the midwives in the Mayo, if they call it from an intuition point, everyone runs. Now, your outstanding care managers have that same intuition capability, which was it was a fascinating one for me, from a geeky point of view. And lastly, they were in the top 10% of self-criticism. So actually, they were pretty easy on themselves and didn't beat themselves to death. So just sit there. How many have we got here who literally give yourself a bit of a kick in when you get things wrong? So what impact does that have on self-esteem, etc., etc.? The outstanding guys and girls seem to have a capability to actually accept and deal with things that didn't happen and didn't beat themselves up too much. Now, moving quickly, I know that wellness and well-being, which is a massive area that impacts on your performance, and I've seen this in every environment I've ever worked in, right? Well-being and stress is a killer to performance. We compared and we measure, from this simple 20-minute analysis, we measure someone's well-being and particularly stress, both in the working world, the environment they're working in, and the environment where they are in their home environment, in their personal world. Now, we're not getting intrusive, knowing context of anything, but what I will say is this. The outstanding managers, 18% of them were in what I call a moderate to severe area of stress in the working environment. But compare that to normal care managers. We have 39% in a high to moderate level of stress. 25% of them, what I would call a critical tipping point of severe. Now the critical tipping point is, you are not coping, you are about to have a breakdown, or something is not happening. You are not managing what is going on in your world, your working world. This is actually quite comparable to other areas of industry we've looked at, but that's massive. And we know it is a stress, high-pressure environment. So it's typical to me that the outstanding people seem to cope more, they have more ability to cope in that environment than other people. But we've got to think there's cause and effect of that. That would be another topic, cause and effect of well-being. I might ask you now though, I'll ask him to. In the personal lives, in someone's own world, 27% of outstanding managers had what we call a stress level moderate to severe. Actually, we didn't find any who had a severe level of stress in their own personal world. They had moderate levels of stress, which we all have now and again, and they shift quite quick. But what I found sad is that 46% and 33% were at a severe level of care managers had elevated what I call severe level of stress in their own personal world. Now, if that same person, and I should have done the stats on it, had stress in the working world and their own personal world, there's no escape. They're not operating. We talk about operating off a solid foundation of self. And unfortunately, a lot of the people out there are not operating what we call solid foundations. Okay, now the work from that research we've done, SEDI's here, we're going to be putting that information out in a paper next week sometime, and please come by. We've got all your data, so you'll get that report and you'll be welcome to come back to us and talk more about that information. These are some top tips. These are things that we think you could do, and you'll all get a copy of these slides, everyone. How are we doing it? Okay, what we're looking at here is how to develop cultural values and culture. Now, I've emphasised the importance of having that culture to grow from, to sustain, and to become outstanding. And these are some of the things. Firstly, decide on what culture you want. What is the culture and what are the values? Acid test for everyone here. Go back tonight, tomorrow morning, first 5 people you come across, say to them, what are the values of our organisation? See what they say? Because if it's just something the boss written on a bit of paper and said, you're all going to do this, these are our values now, everybody. And if it's just something like that that's kept in a room somewhere, or it was on their induction paper, they will not be living by those values. So ask them. Now, the bit there, I say engage, empower, create ownership. If you engage your organisation in what values and culture you want, and they want to live and work and breathe in, that gives them a level of empowerment and ownership. And then, when somebody owns something, they tend to live by it. And we have instances where we've done this in loads of organisations. And what you get is, within about a 6-month period, you actually get the body of the organisation challenging each other. Oi, Harry, you're not living by values. That isn't our culture. If they own it, you are now betraying. If somebody does something against that culture and value, they are betraying Harry, who's been a part of writing this and owns it. So it becomes very personal. I call it intrinsic valued motivation. From an inner side, that's where you're going to get it. So analyse your current values. Have a look. Do some surveys. We'll come and analyse the values of your people and look at risk and a whole pile of things quite easily. Analyse. There's a lot you can do yourself. Create specific. Now this is one thing powerful. Once you've identified what values you want and what culture you want, and you're then looking at barriers to performance and creating an outstanding care environment, create sub-teams, create mixed teams, create teams. You'll be surprised how many really sharp, innovative people may work in your pot wash in the kitchen or may work somewhere else. And you will find these little gems who can come together and form little innovation teams. You want to make sure you get people who are catalysts for change, people who can influence. If you've got, let's say, people with necessarily poor attitude or influencers who are a bit negative, get them on side, flip them. I call it flipping them. Get them on side and flip them. If they don't change, get rid of them. All right? I'm happy to be a mercenary. I will cull if they're not coming on side and not getting a return of investment. But try and change those influences. Create a brand. Create a brand based on your values and culture. Go back into your care home or your organisation now and say, as you walk through the door tomorrow morning, open the doors, what does this tell me about my culture and brand? What does this tell me about my values? And if it doesn't tell you anything, you need to do something about it. It needs to be reinforced. Everyone needs to live and breathe it. Embrace and celebrate success. One of the biggest pieces of feedback I get from care staff, oh yeah, they soon tell us when we've messed up. They don't tell us when we've done something great. Lady smiling at me there. Is that because I'm funny? Why? Because we don't do that. It's not in our nature. We don't embrace success enough. You know, embrace success. Build a culture on embracing success and winning. And don't be scared of failing. You know, we grow our kids up to be scared of failing. Crikey, you should see how many times I've failed in life. Embrace and honour failure and learn from it. Reinforce values and culture every day you can, and hire around staff benchmarked around your values and culture. And you will not get it from a blooming CV or a 5-minute interview and a little bit of work. You will not get it from that. It'll be 6 months down the line when you've spent £1,000 on training and hiring them that you find you've got to get rid of them, or even less. So create an effective onboarding plan. Again, reinforcing values and culture. They've got to live and breathe it. Most people leave organisations within 6 months because they've not been onboarded effectively. They're not cared for, valued, they don't understand, or they don't fit in, I don't fit in, they're all different. You need to create a massively effective onboarding system, which we'll share in a talk tomorrow. Okay. We've got a questions in a minute, but just what I'd like to do is introduce you to one of our most valued clients. This is Julia Clinton, who's the Chief Exec of Sonnet Care, who I really want to just hand it over to Julia and just tell her, she'd tell you in her own words.
Thanks, Rob. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. So, about 3.5 years ago, we had a really pressing need to change the culture and values in our organisation. 2 homes, around 200 staff. We were having a few problems, and we just needed to change the way that people thought and felt and acted when they were at work. We started using the Judgement Index, and their part in that was twofold. One, we analysed the existing team. Who were the superstars, as Rob has said? Who were the people who were really going to help us make the change? Who were the natural leaders? Where were the blind spots? Not just for individuals, but for the whole team. Secondly, we had some vacancies. We'd had to go through a period of making some dismissals, taking some tough decisions. So we had vacancies, we were using agency, and we had a lot of unwanted turnover, running at about 30% at the time. So we started using the Judgement Index for recruitment purposes. So we laid out our values and culture, and with Rob's help, we introduced that into the recruitment process. 3 years on, things look very different. This is the bit Rob really wants me to tell you about. So we've all but eliminated agency. Things have been good at the homes for a while. We've all but eliminated agency because we reduced unwanted turnover to 10%. We have outstanding under the category of well-led for both homes, so they're good overall with outstanding under the category of well-led. We've entered lots of awards programmes, so we've had 18 finalists, we've won 6 awards. That's the embracing the good performance that really rewards the team. Clearly it's good for the organisation, but it makes people feel really valued. Most importantly, we have really, really good feedback from their residents and their families, and that wasn't the case 3.5 years ago. So people tell us that the service is working for them.
There's a live case. It's great to see some clients in the audience and some work we've doing. I think in a large number of organisations, we get this right with. When we get analysing values and looking at culture, when we get it right, we'll kill staff turnover. Julia, they virtually got rid of agencies within about 4 months. That's why agencies aren't going to stop by our staff, by the way. They do not like it because we'll get rid of that. But also, I think the point is that the benefits you get of this sustained staff, and it's the care quality, it's the consistency, it's the residents understanding you and knowing you, but it's eliminating risk and brand. What we want to try and do with developing this environment for you and helping you do it yourselves is eliminate risk. There'll be people in here who will know all about what happens when you get a scandal or something hits. And there will not many organisations will recover from that. We'll ask some questions, but the conclusions here, just have a review of that. But while you're just skimming through that, are there any questions? We've just got a few minutes for questions. We have got people in here. Would anybody like to know anything specific about anything or results? Don't be shy now. Because I'll just have to go and send and tell you. Who has got what? Give me an example of people challenges that you might have. Oh, sir.
I was just going to ask another question. Would Sonnet have noticed then a vast improvement in bottom line profit through what you've experienced?
Yeah, I mean, if you think that turnover of one member of staff probably costs you £1,000, we've eliminated agency. But more importantly, if you have a problem, if you have a safeguarding issue, we were exposed to some media attention. There's just so many zeros after those sorts of issues, apart from the human impact on getting it wrong. So yes, in answer to your question, but there's lots of other benefits as well.
Yeah, just adding in, the analysis, to reset you up with a system that you use in-house, but the return of investment is typically 10-fold, 20-fold, 30-fold. It costs you £1,000 to hire a staff. Aside the damage of everything, reputation, brand, when we get that right, it's massive, massive return. Yeah? Any questions? Anybody else? We've got a minute still. Arnold.
For you to expand it, how do you work with your clients basically? What work do you do?
So, sorry, that's Arnold is a client, the chief exec of another organisation who we're supporting, and he's just supporting what we're saying basically. So, we're doing a ton of work, we're still doing a load of research, we're growing with this concept of developing values and culture and analysing values in people. So all I would sort of pretty much ask you is just have a reflect about what you're doing or not doing. We are a caring sharing, so we will share with you whatever we can, yeah, free. We will share whatever we can with free to help you help yourselves. And we're always there to do some more intricate work should you require it. The gist of it is on there. We will reduce staff turnover, without a doubt. We'll increase care quality and we'll improve care quality, and that will lead to an outstanding care home. That's where we go. Our stand is just over on the side there. Absolutely feel free. If you miss us first time round, please come back. We will be contacting everyone, and we'd be delighted to speak to you more and share whatever we can. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.